Why are you failing at this music career thing? Or why does it even at least feel like you're failing? Today, I want to talk to you about the reasons why you might be failing with your music career. My name is Becky. This is the Empowered Indie Artists YouTube channel and podcast. I hope this is really helpful to you. I've put some thought into this one and wanted to motivate you to overcome some of these big obstacles. Over the years, I've been diving deep into marketing for musicians because the truth is I really knew nothing about it. I gave it a go as a singer-songwriter in my 20s, which was a gazillion years ago, and I didn't know anything back then, and honestly, everything has changed since then. So as my focus shifted to, I was a full-time voice teacher, and then later a vocal producer, and then music producer and audio engineer. Um, I had really no reason to pay attention to what artists and musicians had to do in order to market their music. And when artists would ask me, okay, so now what do I do as far as, how do I get people to want to listen to my music? I just had no idea. And I would be like, I don't know. That's not my job. I'm your producer. But things have changed to the point where, as a producer, I feel like I need to add more value to the artists that I work with. I need to be able to help them understand this industry. And also, it's a bummer. It would make me sad to watch people put so much into a song. We both put so much into their music only to watch it just fizzle out and die. And that that made me sad enough that I was like, okay, I have got to figure this out. And this is what I've learned. There's an initial phase that is so hard that most artists quit and give up before they break out of this phase and into the next one. You could probably say this is the case with almost every seriously hard endeavor in life. I mean, how many little 8-year-olds say they want to be astronauts? And how many of those 8-year-olds who love watching rockets take off when they're kids actually make it through all of those hardcore physics, math, science, and on kind of classes when they get to college, even in high school? So that they can become an astronaut. Not everyone's going to follow that dream all the way through because it's hard. And so, music, for most of us who decide to pursue it, it's a passion that envelops our entire being. We feel spiritually, emotionally, and physically attached to the creation of music. The problem is that, unlike becoming an astronaut, there really isn't a clear path from the dreaming and wanting to actually doing it in a successful way. This is why we flail around trying different things, spinning our wheels, making no progress, and then ultimately giving up. It's really the lack of clarity. So I came up with 6 things that I think are keeping you from actually achieving what you want with your music. This isn't a do these things and you'll find guaranteed success in 30 days type of thing. These are all hard things to accomplish and overcome. Number one, you haven't clearly defined what success looks like to you. Now, we all have various dreams and goals. The thought of singing in front of Katy Perry on live TV is enough to put me in a coma. But for you, however, that might be the ultimate goal. I used to travel every weekend with a successful party band. And I mean, that sounds like the dream, right? But after a few years, I was so tired of traveling. I was so tired of airport food and not sleeping well. And you know what? But for some, being on the road and touring is like the ultimate dream. And some people actually get out there and they love that lifestyle. And but me, I just have become a big time homebody. And so traveling with a band just is not where I want to be right now. So create a clear vision of what success looks like to you regardless of how ridiculous, hard or inconvenient it seems right now, just get the vision really clear so that you always know where you are heading. In Alice in Wonderland, Alice asks the Cheshire Cat, which way should I go, when she's faced with two paths? And, or she says, which path should I take? And he says, well, where are you going? And she said, I don't know. And then he says, well, it doesn't matter. I love that because that is absolutely true. You're going to be faced with so many decisions. And if you don't have that end goal vision really, really crystal clear, you'll keep taking paths that will pull you away further from what you really want. And, those paths usually take a couple of years before you realize that you're on the wrong path. And so eventually you're going to feel like, man, I'm wasting all this time spinning my wheels. Nothing's happening. When really, if you had just made a different choice a couple of years ago, perhaps you would have made progress. So, getting really clear on your vision is the first. Number two, you haven't created a unique brand or story that attracts people to you and pulls them into your world. With over 100,000 songs being uploaded to Spotify a day, this is an essential step that many disregard. This is the day of the indie artist right now. This is the time. It used to be that being a small independent artist, up against major label artists was kind of impossible. It was like this huge ocean full of really big fish, and not many, but, a fair amount. And now in this big ocean, there's gazillions, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of little baby fish that are, some are getting great attention, but it's easy to get really lost in this big, huge ocean. And so finding your own unique story, what makes you different, is really going to help you stand out. It's going to set you apart so that you don't get lost in the noise. And of course, in the description, I've got a link to the artist branding workbook, which I've had so many artists go through that and tell me, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is so great. It's really helping me figure out what I want to do, how I want to present myself, what my brand is. So I hope you'll grab it. Number three, you haven't put together a clear, functioning professional infrastructure or ecosystem. What I'm talking about is your website, your email list, a regular posting schedule, and a regular conversation with your fan base. Without your infrastructure in place, people can find your music on Spotify, listen to it, and love you, and make no movement as a fan. That is not what you want, right? You want them to go look at your bio on Spotify, which will also have a link to your website. And then on your website, there's a way to sign up for your email list. They're like, oh my gosh, check this person out. And they're even coming to town in 2 weeks. Having this infrastructure is so critical. Don't let people fall in love with your music and then have no opportunity to engage with you. Number four, you haven't been clear with what you want. Now, this is a little different than number one, which was about getting clear on your end goal, on your vision. Four is being clear with what you want. I'm talking more about what you want from your fan base. So if I had a dime for every time an artist told me, I'm not interested in making money, or I don't want to be famous or anything, I have heard that so many times. I seriously would be a millionaire. I'm sure those same words came out of my mouth in my early 20s, because I think it's absolutely true for most of us. We aren't pursuing music for money or fame. Here's the problem with this thinking, though. You're leaving out the most important part of making music. Music is meant to be shared. I believe this is what motivates all of us, right? Your purpose with music is to connect with people, to move them, to help them, inspire them, heal them, excite them. You want people to experience something when they hear your music, right? For some reason, We as musicians have come to believe that if we are focused on marketing, it means we're being selfish or delusional, or we've lost sight of what music is for, or we're too focused on money. The opposite is true, in my humble opinion. If you do not concern yourself with marketing or reaching the people in the world who will be moved by your music, then what is the point? That is all I'm trying to say. I've had this conversation with people about making sure they have their email list and their ecosystem in place and all that. But then when I ask the question, okay, now what do you want people on that list to do? What do you want them to feel compelled to do? The response is usually like deer in the headlights. Well, I don't know. So you can kind of eventually get to the point where you're like, okay, I understand the importance in that direct communication with my fans and having them on an email list. But now, what do you want them to do? How do you expect to move people if you shut out the process of finding and nurturing those relationships and then providing ways for them to support you and to be involved in your musical journey? So, this is what I'm talking about when I say getting clear on what you want from your fans. Number five, your music is your last priority. I know this is a toughie, especially for the young adult that's just starting a family or just getting out of high school, or you're in college, there's no real money to speak of, or just the average adult who is really spread thin. The importance of prioritizing a portion of your day or your week for this pursuit for music is the same as prioritizing your gym time or your alone time or friend time or spouse time. Whatever stage of life you're in right now, it will always feel hard to carve out that time that you need to work on your music business. I totally get it. Because you've convinced yourself, or someone in your life has convinced you that it's frivolous or not important, that it should be the last thing on the priority list. Well, if this is how you're living your life, your music will always come last. It's never ever going to get any movement and never get any momentum. And then, you'll be at a certain stage of life looking back going, well, at one time I thought I might do music. That's really sad. So just prioritizing, even if it's just 30 minutes on a Wednesday afternoon, that's all I've got to give right now. Make it part of your everyday, every week life. And you're going to be so much further along in 6 months, even just doing that 30 minutes one day a week, than you will if you never did it. You see what I'm saying? Now, I have another little giveaway I can give you that's a priority worksheet for independent artists. And what you do is you just list all of the things, activities, part of your life that are priorities, and you give them a ranking. And then you create a weekly schedule based on that ranking. So if music is the absolute last priority out of all of the other stuff, it's still going to go on your schedule. See what I'm saying? It's still a priority. So take advantage of that, grab it, and go to town. Okay, last one, number six. You're doing this alone. Just like if you were an athlete, even if you're amateur athlete or you're just someone who wants to get in shape, if you just go to the gym and do a regular workout, you're not going to get the same results as you would if you have a personal trainer that you meet with once a month. So, doing it alone, sometimes we feel like there's no other option, but I'm telling you, having a support system is going to be one of these really critical, important things that you do. And I happen to have an Empowered Indie Artist membership and community. And we have monthly coaching calls, we have monthly training and challenges. These are all meant to provide support to independent artists, and it's really, really affordable. There's a link in the description below if you want to check it out, and I even have it free for 7 days if you just want to join us for 7 days, take a look around, and if you decide it's not for you, I won't even ask. You'll just cancel your subscription. So that's all of the 6 reasons why I think most independent artists are failing, or you feel like you're failing. And if you can just focus on these 6 things, then perhaps you can start making some movement, start feeling like, okay, I've got this. It's a really, really hard career path that you've taken. I don't have to tell you that. It's harder than I think most people realize, because we always see kind of the success stories, and we don't see all of the people struggling, right? Those aren't what we see on TV. So it's a very, very difficult path, but it is possible. And really, it comes down to these things: getting clear, getting some support. I hope this was helpful for you. Leave me some comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about these 6 things, and I'll see you next time.